Hello, sweet honeybees, and welcome to the Electric Honey Pot, where energy is the nectar of life. My name is Autumn, and this whole project is about the human experience, the good, the bad, the ugly, and all of the magic that happens in between. Imagine for a moment that you live in a walkable area and you are walking home from your friend's house one night after sunset, and you're walking down the main road you normally take to get home. Everything is safe, everything is normal, but as you come to another street, you get this intuitive feeling that you should turn down that road and walk. It makes no sense. It defies logic, but you decide to trust and listen to that feeling. As you're walking down this side street on your way home, you see a shadowy figure lurking around a house, and you start having these warning bells go off in your body. So you decide to hide, and you call your friend to tell them that something doesn't feel right, and they agree. They call the police show up, and they find and arrest someone who had been staking out a house in order to burglarize it later. Your intuition that defied logic not only kept you safe, but it also helped keep someone else safe. This is just hypothetical, but stories like this happen all the time in this world. I have some of my own. I've heard some. For instance, back in 2020, there was a tornado that hit Nashville, Tennessee, and I was living in the area at the time. My friend and I were going to go out to a bar that night in East Nashville. When we arrived to the bar, we pulled into the parking lot, and we just got this feeling that we shouldn't stay at that bar. It didn't make sense. We hadn't even gotten out of the car. We just got there, but we decided to leave and go somewhere else. We drove across town to this super cool basement bar, and about 10 minutes after arriving there, the music in the bar cut off. It grew silent, and everybody's phones started going off with a weather warning. It turns out a tornado had hit East Nashville, and we later found out that the bar that we had intended on spending time at that night was completely obliterated by this tornado. Our intuition, just that gut feeling that we had that made no sense, ended up possibly saving our lives. I also worked Soul Music Festival last year down in Ponce de Leon, Florida. And there was a triple car fire that took place. And the very next day, I was working by the VIP bathrooms when I had a conversation with a woman that told me her car was one of the cars involved. And she had been really tired earlier on in the night, but something inside of her told her that she needed to stay up and dance. She told me that she hadn't even set up her campsite, and she had been sleeping in the back seat of her car, and she would have been asleep when the fire took place and most likely would have died in her car had she not stayed up and danced, listening to that feeling despite how tired she was. You know, this instinctual gut feeling that we get, it's our intuition. It's a survival instinct. It's meant to protect us. We have it for a reason. And I mean, it's not all about just protecting us either, because it also provides good fortune for us sometimes too when we listen to it. I was on my way to Electric Forest Festival last year, and I was having a conversation with the woman that was nice enough to pick me up and paying attention to my surroundings, and I noticed some synchronicities between the music, what we were talking about, and some things that I experienced throughout the day. So I told her to take a specific exit, and I bought a scratch-off lottery ticket at that exit. I won $100 just by paying attention to my surroundings and listening to the feelings that I got in my body, despite the fact that they made no sense logically. It's a guiding spirit, and we have it for a reason. It's meant to help us make better decisions and to help us learn and grow and survive. It does not always line up with logic, but sometimes you just got to trust it. It can work in tandem with observation, though. Things in this world are not always as they appear. Here in this 3D world, literally everything is subliminal programming, whether it's the music you listen to, the TV shows that you're watching, the movies you're watching, or the conversations you have, even the teachers and mentors that you choose to follow. Everything that exists in this world is influencing how you think and feel about things. So being able to listen to your own inner guidance, that intuition, and use discernment is very important, because when you don't, you can end up in some very tricky situations that can be harmful for your well-being. There are people in this world that wear masks that can seem good, but actually have nefarious intentions. And the same goes for situations. You know, something can look nice and happy and fun on the outside, but actually have darkness hidden behind all of that. It's a mask. And this is why it's so important to learn how to trust your intuition and that inner guidance, because energy does not lie. What you see, hear, and experience, you know, everything in outside of you, everything in the 3D can be manipulated, but energy does not lie. What you feel is the reality. I want to talk about an experience that I had last night involving this small circus that I went to with a friend. I was not expecting animals to be there, and some other things happened as well. I told my friend that I had a good time because I didn't want them to think that I was ungrateful for the invitation and them being nice enough to buy my ticket, because I was very grateful to spend time with my friends. But I can't deny that I had warning bells going off the entire time I was at this circus. I felt very uncomfortable about what I was experiencing there, and the energy was very heavy on me as a highly sensitive empath and intuitive person. The show began with a skit about a clown being spanked for dancing. And the 3 songs that this clown was dancing to were all sexual in nature. They even played Bruno Mars's song Locked Out of Heaven, specifically the line where it says, "Your sex takes me to paradise." And I'm just thinking, why are we playing this for children? Even if children don't realize what's going on, you know, subconsciously they are storing all of that information. It's programming, it's subliminal programming. And I don't even have kids, and it made me feel uncomfortable. And I think it's very concerning that the parents didn't seem to have any kind of reaction or even notice it. I think it's concerning that we don't think deeper about what we're consuming and what we're allowing our kids to consume, because it influences the types of people that they're going to grow up into and the types of things that they're going to support. I tried to set that aside as they moved on to like some gymnastics, but then the animals came out and I got really uncomfortable again. It started with a group of poodles and a miniature pony, and the person working with the animals was carrying a crop. And I know that crops can be used ethically with gentle taps, but they can also be used as tools of abuse and fear tactics with animals. So I had an uncomfortable feeling, but I wasn't really too sure. But then I kind of began getting confirmations as it went on. They reached this intermission point where they were encouraging kids to get their parents to buy them camel rides. They had brought out this camel. And I'll tell you guys, I can sometimes feel the energy of animals, and I could feel the unhappiness and the pain of that camel deep within my soul. The man leading the camel had a crop, and the camel tried to look at me a couple of different times, and he would like jerk the camel's head anytime it wasn't looking anywhere but straight. And the camel like seemed like it didn't want to walk, like it was getting slow at some points, and its head just extended out as the man pulled it along. And I felt really uncomfortable. I was on the verge of tears, and I stepped outside to get some air to get away from it. Once the intermission ended, I came back inside and it was okay for a minute because they weren't working with the animals, but then they brought them back out again. This time they brought out the camel, but they also brought out a horse, a zebra, and the miniature horse again. And two different people had crops and a whip, one standing in the center of the ring, one along the outskirts near the door. And then there was somebody else standing along the door with some kind of popper as well. And the zebra at one point tried to get out of formation and then kind of like cropped the whip at it and cracked the whip at it. And it's a scare tactic. It's meant to keep the animals in line using fear. And that's not okay, in my opinion. As the animals circled the ring, as they got to where the door was, they would shoot that popper in order to prevent the animals from exiting the ring as they're running. Once again, yet another fear tactic being used. And to think a little bit deeper about the experience of animals that are used to perform in circuses, they are spending most of their time locked in a trailer, traveling on the road. Can you imagine being an animal that's not meant to be in a car, just constantly being in a trailer and listening to road noise as it's traveling? And these animals also aren't meant to be in these small confined spaces, and they're not here for our entertainment and our pleasure. Humans can make the decision whether or not we want to be entertainers and performers. Humans force animals to do that, though. And the thing is, animals are sentient beings. They're extremely intelligent. They are also conscious, just like we are. And just because they can't vocalize that they don't want to do that doesn't mean that it's okay to make them do it. And we're teaching children that all of this is okay. Children learn from us. And personally, I just feel like we should be past the point of making animals perform for our entertainment and for our pleasure. We should be living in harmony because we are only hurting other sentient beings. And we're hurting ourselves in the process because we are all one. We are all connected to each other. I mean, just look at how we have negatively impacted the environment. And, that's impacting us now too, because we don't think about how we affect things until it's too late, until we begin to see the repercussions of our actions. I tried to talk to my friend about the things that I was feeling, and I was just kind of met with excuses about how they don't speak any English, or how their first language isn't English. So they may not even understand what the songs are about. And you cannot tell me that they don't understand what the songs are about. Their English was very fluent, and they've been doing this for a long time. I also brought up the animals, and it was also a bunch of excuses there too. I just personally do not think that it's right. We should be past this point. And when I got home, I was extremely anxious, and I looked up some reviews to try to get some more information on this circus. And, the reviews are not good. I did see someone else mentioning animals being mistreated, but then I also saw a bunch of comments of people saying they didn't have any animals. Can you please think about something other than yourself? Please, can we think about how other living things feel and the well-being of other living things, and not just about our own personal satisfaction and entertainment? Like, how selfish. And I also saw a comment talking about how they saw workers using drugs, which is very concerning because, again, we're talking about a circus, which is about children and being around children. I don't have these difficult conversations. I don't talk about these difficult things because I want to spread malice or hate or sadness or anything like that. I am a firm believer that if we want the world to be a better place, it starts with breaking the silence and talking about things that we see as problems and talking about them in a healthy manner. I'm not here trying to argue or convince you. I am sharing my own experience and my perspective and hoping that if you have an open mind, it helps you think a little bit deeper about how our decisions as human beings impact the world around us and other living beings around us. It all comes with good intentions. It comes from a place of love. You can't have the light without the dark, but how do we heal things that are done in the dark if we are unwilling to bring them out of the dark by talking about them? We don't. It just continues to stay in the dark, where it continues to happen when we don't speak about things. And that's exactly why our world has become what it is because just generations upon generations of trauma and us not talking about it and acting as if all of this is normal. And I want the world to be a better place for all living beings, not just humans. And let's face it, this world isn't a very place even for humans right now. There are a lot of people that are suffering. And in order to heal it and fix it, to change it, we have to be willing to talk about it and have difficult conversations. Having compassion and understanding that hurt people does not mean that there is no accountability for the things that people do. We are all here to teach each other lessons. And if we force each other into silence, or we stay silent about things that cause harm, there is no accountability. There are no lessons to be learned because there aren't consequences for our actions. Just my 2 cents on everything. I just feel like we should be past this point of using animals for our entertainment, and I feel like people should be more aware of what they are consuming, because it affects us on a subliminal level, whether people realize it or not. Discernment is very, very important. We're all sovereign beings, and we should all be able to make informed decisions, and informed decisions come from sharing perspectives, differing perspectives, and then using our own internal guidance and discernment in order to know what is right for us and what is wrong for us. That's what I got. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. If this resonated with you at all, please like, comment, share, subscribe, follow whatever it is on whatever platform you're listening to this on or watching it on. I really thank you for your time, because I recognize how valuable your time and energy is, as that's the most valuable thing that we have, is our time and our energy as human beings. And it really does mean a lot to me that you chose to spend it with me. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful rest of your day, your week, your month, your year, your life. And I love you so much. I'll see you next time.